And it is just 4 o'clock. Okay, great. I'm calling to order the Thursday, January 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Town of Nantucket Finance Committee. May I have an approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. So approved by Peter, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Joe,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Denise, I. Thank you. I'm now going to open it for public comment. And seeing no electronic hands, I'm going to close it for public comment. Okay, so today the first item on our agenda is discussion, deliberation, and potential motions for citizen warrant Article D, rescind unused borrowing authority, affordable housing trust fund. Toby, thank you for being here, and I will turn it over to you to give us a 5-minute explanation as to why you're looking for a positive motion from the Finance Committee. And my dogs are barking and I'm going to go to mutes.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me right now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Do you want my camera on?
Toby, we're always happy to see you. So that would be
Okay.
great.
All right.
Thank you.
I didn't know that was an option, so.
Yeah, no, be
apologize.
happy to see your smiling face, Toby. So
All right. So probably don't have a very good setup here. So anyways, so yeah, thanks for having me right now. So my article is pretty simple. Over the past few years, fellow taxpayers have been concerned. Taxes obviously increasing every year by a decent amount. Many of the concerns about the Affordable Housing Act for some people that I've spoke with, and the speed and accountability of the projects being managed. And the biggest example is Wiggles Way right now. I believe, you guys can correct me, we're looking at $22 million for a project that's not completed. And Brookmore in May of 2023 town meeting let us know that it would be done the fall of 2023. Now we are looking at a year and a half later, and that has not happened. It seems to be a good parking lot. I don't see much of anything going on except maybe a few work trucks parked there. If anybody watching this wants to go to the YouTube, it's around the 1 hour, 16-minute segment of the 2023 meeting, where she pretty much let us know that everything is kosher and all going smooth, which obviously it's not. So basically, just by rescinding this $6.5 million is not saying that this is not whether you're for or against tax affordable housing. It's just accountability is good. If you're building a house and you're getting a construction loan, the bank wants to see your numbers. So basically, what this does is just they can come back to the taxpayers every year and ask for, they might ask for 10 million one year, or they might ask for 4, or however. It also brings consciousness on building efficient and cost effective. Like I look at those buildings, and once again, this is just Wiggles Way. A lot of dormers, angles, jogs. Anybody who's in the construction business knows that every little corner, every shingle, Stephen, I'm sure would agree with his dad being in the building business, and maybe you are too now, that these things really aren't being built cost effective. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. And I just feel like that would be the Affordable Trust to come to town meeting and let everybody know how good progress is going or not going, and let the voters decide. So really, that's about it.
thank you, Toby. Questions from the committee, and then John, I'll go to John Giorgio. I'll go to you.
Thank you, Denise. Did more members of the Finance Committee come online since you took the role?
Yes, Jeremy Bloomer and Joanna Roche.
I just want the record to reflect that. So.
Yes, thank you. Okay, questions from the committee? Seeing none, I'm going to go right to John Giorgio. Oh, that was a late hand raise, Stephen. So go ahead, Stephen, and then I'll go over to John.
I was trying to leave some room in it, and I think I know
part, at least, of what John is going to say about the technical aspects of the way Toby's written his article. But I do want to take a moment to say that there is a need for greater transparency in how housing dollars are being spent. And I am a proponent of municipal assisted and subsidized workforce housing, and of the need, certainly recognize the need for workforce housing, but I worry about projects like the one Toby just described, and generally the speed at which these funds are being put to use. And the term sometimes that people use is heads in beds. And it's not just like how fast can you do it, but how efficiently are you doing it, and what's the level of transparency? Because this is something that I've talked about for the last couple of years, is that if voters aren't happy, or they don't feel like they can trust how things are being done, then I thought that an article like this might come, where people say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what we voted for. We were told this, or led to believe that, and it didn't come to pass. And so now let's take funding away. And I don't think that now is the time to take funding away, but I do think that this is something that we should have seen coming. This is a wake-up call that that there needs to be. I don't know if it's better planning. I don't know if it's more proactive reporting, and that's certainly not a shot at Christie's office or at any individual, but I do think that there's a growing sense in the community that that the way things are being run is not how they thought they might be, and not how they ought to be.
Thank you, Stephen. Anyone else in the committee want to make a comment before I go to John, Giorgio? Okay, John, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. So, as I indicated in our review of the citizen petitioned articles, this article is not in proper legal form and cannot be acted on at town meeting. And well, I suppose it could be, but it would be a nullity. And the reason for that is the appropriation that I believe Toby is talking about. I hope you don't mind my calling you Toby.
Oh, no,
As
that's fine.
opposed to Mr. Brown, but he's trying to address the appropriation, and it was 6.5 million a couple of years ago to be used by the Affordable Housing Trust, contingent on the passage of a override. And the override, in fact, passed, as did the appropriation at town meeting. And what that means is there was, it resulted in a permanent increase in the town's levy limit of 6.5 million, with an additional 2.5% added on in each subsequent fiscal year. And so every year now, the town has used that adjusted 6.5 million to appropriate money to support the Affordable Housing Trust. And as I said, that is a permanent increase in the town's levy limit. And the only way to change that, and I'm going to put that aside for 1 second, but I want to talk about how that could potentially be changed. But this article talks about rescinding the unused borrowing authority pursuant to that vote. And there was no borrowing authority voted on at town meeting pursuant to that vote. It would, if it had been, presumably it would have been contingent on a debt exclusion ballot question, which is a temporary increase in the town's levy limit to pay off bonds issued to support the project. And so there could be 10-year, 20-year, sometimes 30-year bonds, so that any interest and principal would be raised every year after the vote until the bonds were paid off, and that would be outside the town's levy limit. But that's not what happened here. This was an appropriation contingent on an override. So, unfortunately, Toby's article is not going to achieve what I think he is intending here. The only way, once you approve an override, again, which is that permanent increase in the town's levy limit, that can only be undone. And I addressed this at a select board meeting when Matt Fee asked me, the only way that can be undone is through what's called an underride, which is a ballot question that essentially would reduce the levy limit by whatever the amount of the increase pursuant to that override, whatever the amount is now, because of the 2.5%. And the only way under Proposition 2.5 that you can initiate an underride vote is by a vote of the select board, and the placement of an underride vote on the election ballot. But that cannot be done by petition. It can't be done by a vote of town meeting. It is the sole and exclusive authority of the select board to place an underride question on the ballot.
Thank you, John. Jeremy? If you're talking, you're muted.
John, on this, isn't it further complicated by the fact that the town went and used this money to present value and raise a much larger bond in the last 6 months that was backstopped by this amount of money?
Well, Jeremy, I guess if the answer is yes, obviously, because the town was relying, I presume, on this revenue stream of 6.5 million plus in order to pay debt service, and essentially it was leveraged to provide more borrowing authority. So if the voters were to vote an underride, then you would have to find the money to support those borrowings that were not supported by a debt exclusion through your regular general fund revenues.
So, John, from our perspective, in evaluating this, away from the fact that it may be legally flawed the way it's presented, we have a additive complexity in that the town entered into a bond contract, and wasn't it around $40 million that was backstopped by this earmarked money? Is my recollection.
Well, I'm sure your financial advisors and bond counsel would have something to say about that, obviously. But those are general obligations of the town. You have to service that debt. Even if you don't appropriate money, you're still legally liable to service that debt.
Got it.
And that would all have to come in under your levy limit.
Peter?
Yeah, based on the fact that the article is defective, I don't know what we're voting on, but I make a motion that we vote not to adopt.
Okay. I'm just going to hold off on that for 1 second, Peter, and just check with Toby. Is there anything you want to ask of John Giorgio while you have him?
Yeah, so having said, because I have spoke with another attorney, and they said that this could go through and let the AG decide whether it's legal or not. So I'm just questioning, will this be able to be at town meeting? Because if it's not legal and we go through and you're happy with that going to the AG and they say it's not legal, then everybody wins. But in the event that, you know, the town's lawyer is wrong, which, you know, let's face it, there's many conclusions. I just want to know how that might go.
So,
It
yeah,
has-
so it is on the warrant. John, let me jump in, please. It is on the warrant now. Toby, it'll stay on the warrant.
Okay.
And so it will go to town meeting. Finance Committee will make a motion, or Peter's already proposed a motion, and we'll get to that in a second. So we'll make a motion, and then on the day, depending on what our motion is, then if you make a positive motion to bring it back to town floor. But the bottom line is there was no borrowing, and your article says to rescind the borrowing. So there
Oh.
was no borrowing. So
Okay, so my question is, would there be, is it a way of changing the motion now? And that's my question, because I know that the warrants are not completed, you know, you guys are still, the town's still working on several, so is there a way I could change that or even a motion on the floor, as we know that amendments are many times changed on the floor, especially by the moderator who has changed them herself before to make it.
So to John's point earlier, what you're seeking to do basically is an underride. And that's only done by the select board. So that's not done at town meeting. John,
Okay.
I'll let you finish.
Thank-
I've been talking, but it's really you should go over now.
Thank you very much, Denise. But I would also point out to Toby that the Attorney General does not review these kinds of town meeting. So they review bylaws basically and either approve them or disapprove them. So this would never get to the Attorney General. The other thing I would certainly encourage in the future, in order to avoid these kinds of situations, and I've said this before, the selectmen are very generous in making my time available during citizen petition hours. And if I had known that this is what Toby was looking to do, I would have relished the opportunity to have a discussion with him so that we didn't get this far into the process. And then lastly, about an amendment on town meeting floor, that's not going to work, Toby, because as Denise indicated, there's nothing really to amend here because your article is limited to rescinding unused borrowing authority. The only way to achieve your goal would be to convince the select board to place an underride question on the election ballot. That's the only option given the present circumstances.
All right, no, this has been helpful, and at least now that, you know, this being recorded on YouTube, and at least the voters now will see going forward, they might be not voting for a foolishness like this. So this will be probably much better for when I see that there's a lot more of these articles coming up. So this has been very, very helpful, and I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you, Toby. So Peter made a motion not to adopt. Is there a second? Joe seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing no discussion, I'll go to roll call vote. Jeremy,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, aye. It's unanimous. Thank you, Toby, for your time. And in the future, I absolutely encourage, thank you for your civic engagement. It's meaningful.
Thank you. Yep. See ya. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Okay, Jason, now we're discussion deliberation, potential motions for citizen warrant article V, charter change, notices of public hearing. So Jason, over to you. Thanks for being here.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to say thank you again for letting me postpone from last week, and thanks to the committee. I did have a conflict, so appreciate you allowing me to move it to today. Yeah, I'll be very brief. I won't take up 5 minutes. And a little story is this article was basically born out of, I was reading the newspaper, the Inquirer Mirror, a couple weeks before the deadline, and looking at all of the many legal notices that the town publishes in the newspaper, lots of important stuff, important meetings, house moves, things that are happening, and just thinking about how many people are missing these notices and not seeing these important items that are out there and that the town is required to publicize. We all know, I know a lot of people still read the newspaper, but times do change. People get information in different places these days electronically. So this article would simply allow the town to fulfill its legal requirement if it chose to do so by publicizing the legal notices and public hearings in an electronic media outlet, in addition to the newspaper if it so chose to do so. So providing it with another option to reach an audience that may or may not be reading the newspaper. So that's my article. I worked with Arthur Reed to help us draft it, and I hope you will give it a positive recommendation.
Thank you, Jason. Committee members, any question? Peter?
Jason, what you're saying, I'm not saying I disagree with it, but it's certainly going to increase the cost to the town. Do you have any idea what we're talking about? I mean, what they spend on those announcements and how much it would cost to put them on current?
Yeah, I don't think it would actually increase them, the cost at all. It could choose to do it in the newspaper still, could be status quo, could choose to do it with us and might actually save money.
Don't you think it has to be a constant?
I mean, that's up for the town's communications department and to decide how they want to do it. They could do it in both. They could do it in one. They could decide that our rates or Daybreak or another outlet is more competitive than what they're getting in the Inquirer Mirror, and they could save money by doing it that way. So, it's really, I think it provides another option that, potentially could reach more people and save the town money, in my opinion.
But you don't have any idea how much money it would save or how that would work.
No, I mean, there's some things that are statutorily required that by the state that we can't do anything about with the town charter. That would need to be continue to be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation, which is what this says. But certainly if there was a contract, which the town does have to do legal notices, we'd love to be able to bid on it.
Are any towns that you know of doing them online?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
John, would you
thank
know
you.
the answer? Thanks, Peter.
John.
John, do you know the answer to that?
I do not know the answer to that, Denise. I will say that, and Jason has correctly framed the issue. We approve this as to form, but with the caution that it would only apply to hearings that are required locally and not by state law. And so I was sitting here trying to think of an example. A good example, I think, is the Finance Committee public hearing on citizen warrant articles. That's not a requirement of law. So if this were enacted as a charter amendment, the town would have the flexibility of advertising the Finance Committee hearing in an other than a newspaper of general circulation.
We might actually have people show up.
Yeah, you guys will have a lot of new spectators next year.
Okay, folks, raise your hand. Rob, raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to give the town the option to do this, right? Like we are in the middle of a shift and this is a generational thing. So I'm sure there are still some people that read the paper. A lot of us get our news from the Current. I'd love to have it there personally, so I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. The town admin comments, because Libby's not here, they recommend this, and I'll just read it directly. This could allow for additional flexibility in how and when to publish certain types of notices. However, the likelihood of it being much of a cost savings and or benefit is low because of the statute requirements noted by town council. So it probably comes out as a wash, Peter. Town admin did look at that, so, okay. Any other comments besides the number of hundreds of people that will now show up because they'll know about it, as per Stephen and Joe's observations? Okay, may I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second,
Okay, so motion made by Peter, seconded by Jeremy. Roll call, Jeremy.
yes.
Thank you, Joe,
Yes.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, aye. That's unanimous. So motion to adopt. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks. Take care. Okay, articles, items 6 and 7, which were Stephen Welsh's. I got a text from Stephen. He's had a family issue come up and he will not be here today. So he's being postponed until February 6th. We have a general discussion, deliberation, and potential motions for warrant articles for the annual town meeting 2025. I do not see anyone raising their hand to discuss other articles. Committee reports. Is there anything new on any of your committees from the last time we spoke? I just see heads shaking no. Okay.
None for me.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the date of our next meeting is now Tuesday, January 28th. It's going to be fully remote. We have one article, which is Article O, the acquisition of 3, 5, 7, and 9 Surfside Road, I think it is. So that's the only article that we have on for the 28th. I have canceled the meeting for the 30th, so we don't have a meeting next Thursday. We're really this is a kind of a funny year for us in that of the 26 citizen warrant articles, only 12 of them are we the primary recommendation, and of those 3 are related to short-term rentals, so we're waiting till the planning board makes their recommendations. According to our calendar, the planning board is supposed to come to us with their recommendations on February 10th. I will confirm that with Leslie to make sure that that's available, and then after that, we will fit in. So from February 6th until we're done, which is March 14th, we have 10 meetings to get through the entire warrant. Just giving everybody a heads up that we will not be having these 20-minute meetings in February. So just make sure that your 2 hours that you've allocated for this will be a very full 2 hours. So I'm hoping we're not pushing a big bow wave here, but we've been very efficient as a committee typically, so I'm expecting that to continue in our wheelhouse going forward. Any other business? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I was gonna say, nobody wants to adjourn. Peter made the motion, Joe
Second.
second. Roll call, Jeremy. You're muted. I'm pretending you're saying aye. Joe,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Stephen, Susan, Rick, and John, Giorgio, as always, thank you for your assistance. Much appreciated. And stay warm, everybody. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
I guess.